Hello, everybody. Get off my lawn cards. I'm Dan. Welcome in. And today I have kind of a two-part video. The first part, I wanted to show some recent eBay pickups. If you watched my last video from Legends in Grand Rapids, I picked up some really nice cards that I was able to flip a whole bunch of that stuff last week. The Fernando Mendozas that I bought the Bowman U Now. I bought 5 of those cards for 25 cents. I sold each one of those cards, each one of those 5, for 12 bucks each. So that was a really good flip. That paid for a lot of the cards that I actually bought last week. Plus, I had some other odds and ends that I sold. Sold an Aaron Judge that was on the video. Sold the Andre the Giant last night. And so I made pretty good money off of those flips that paid for a lot of the other cards I bought. So I want to show a couple eBay pickups. First one, I bought this a couple of years ago, actually, on eBay. This was a giveaway at a 76ers game that celebrated the 50th anniversary of Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. And actually has a game-used piece of the floor. And the back looks like this. And it even states on the bottom, this piece of wood is from the original Wilt court. His 100 points. Wilt scored his 100 points on March 2nd, 1962. And so I thought this was really cool. My brother actually hooked me in on this. And I liked it so much that I actually bought a second one last week. And this one actually has a couple different colors in the piece of wood. Back is the same, you know, so 100-point game. I just think these are really cool. I think these are very undervalued. I paid less than $40 for this one. I don't remember what I paid for this one, about the same. So I think those are just really cool, cool pieces from one of the most legendary nights in NBA history. A couple other things I bought. I really kind of like this guy. So I bought a lot of 7 of his Topps Chrome rookies, Will Riley. I just picked up a bunch of them on eBay really cheap. Maxime Renault, big guy for the Kings. I bought the, I think I call it tip-off variation. They're the piece at like the net. I kind of like those. I think they was kind of cool. Picked that up for about $3. This is a guy that I'm hoping will go to Michigan. Mika Murinen. He's a Finnish-born guy that is looking to go to college here next year in the States. And Michigan's on the list among some other ones. I picked up this from Contenders, Eurobasket. Or I don't remember what the brand is. Let me see. Sorry, Contenders Euro League, not Eurobasket. And it's kind of like the disco variation. Not a lot of his stuff out there. But he played alongside Lauri Markkanen on the Finnish national team last summer. Markkanen had really good things to say about him. So I hope he comes to Michigan. The rich get richer, so to speak, if he does that. I also bought 2 printing plates of our guy Bryce Underwood. This is from Leaf Trinity. There's actually 2 printing plates in here, 2 different colors. So the back looks like. So these are 101s. The thing about Leaf, everything is low number. 101, 205, whatever. Everything's low numbered. That's the one thing you learn about Leaf when you look at it. But I do like this. I think they're kind of cool. So I picked up those. I think 25 bucks total. The last thing I picked up on eBay, these look really sharp. I picked up 3 Cooper Flag Topps Now first pick from last year's draft. 3 Gem Mint 9.5s. All of these, no, I guess not, but if you're into subgrades, this one's got 310 subgrades. This one only has 1. I thought each of them had at least 2. I have to double check the picture that was originally in the listing. And then this one's got 2. But I did buy 3 of them. I thought this was a good deal. I paid $35 a piece. The guy had free shipping, so that was kind of nice. You don't see that much on eBay anymore. And I'm going to talk about that in the second part of the video. But, I mean, 3 nice Cooper flags. These are not rare, but I figured, you know, Gem Mint 9.5s, BGS. BGS kind of making a comeback under the Collector's Universe umbrella. And Flag had a great season. Probably will win the Rookie of the Year. Con Knippel is kind of nipping at his heels. But I don't think he had to do as much as Cooper Flag had to do for his team. So we'll see what happens. Either of them are worthy of Rookie of the Year. They're both very, very good players and will be very good players. So waiting on my on the MVP declaration. I did buy this at last week's show, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander X-Fractor. This would, if he wins the MVP, this is a $40 buyback card. So this was one of the best pickups. Like I said last week, one of you guys made a comment. Boy, those are really good pickups. And I was like, yeah, they're pretty good. Then I started looking into it. You know, what certain things sell, and I knew all about this one. But the other cards, I'm like, wow, this really turned out pretty good. So some pretty good eBay pickups. I'm really happy with these. These were really packed very well. Whoever did this shipped these 3. I think it was from California. Kudos for that. They really did a nice job of making sure nothing was going to happen to those. There's a lot of good people out there when you're looking at eBay. So on with the second part of the show. Okay, second part of the video. This one kind of goes with the second part of the title. Nothing in the sports card hobby is trending towards consumers. Everything is moving further and further away from us, and kind of a business culture versus collector culture. And it's really kind of unfortunate. When Fanatics took over Topps and eventually got the licenses, there was a lot of talk about the goal being 10xing the hobby. It's one of the first videos I ever did, talked about 10xing the hobby. And I think what he meant by 10xing the hobby was 10xing the amount of profits that card companies were going to make versus 10 times the amount of collectors. And I think there's been an uptick in collectors as well, but the focus has really been profits over everything. And nowadays, this is one of my probably most get off my lawn videos. Corporate society is more and more designed, I think, to bleed more and more money from us consumers, where we get less out of the transaction. And I'm seeing it in cards, and you see it in other parts of society too. And it's really, really unfortunate. And I want to give you 8 different ways that we're getting screwed as not only hobby fans, but also sports fans. There's a couple of sports related ones in here as well. I want to give you 8 quick ones. Number 1, and I've talked about this, the exclusive license that Fanatics has and that Panini had in the past, I think is really bad for us as consumers. Not a lot of competition. There's not a lot of places you can go. One thing that is nice about cards in the hobby is that you don't necessarily have to collect stuff from right now. You know, you can go back if you want to collect vintage or stuff from 10 years ago or 20 years ago. That's fine. There's a lot of different lanes, but I just don't like the fact that there's not a lot of competition. You know, and the competition, you can't use licensing, and it's not great, in my opinion. Number 2, wax prices and wax availability are challenges. You know, and that's caused a lot by breakers. Let's be honest. Like if you're in breaks, that's fine, but just understand that breakers have driven the price of wax sky high, and has driven the availability of wax, where you can go to the store and buy it, way down. You know, Fanatics is doing the online stuff where you can put in and you can get it. You know, basically you're in line digitally. And a lot of individuals are just getting skunked where they don't get any product. And meanwhile, breakers like Backyard Breaks, they have like pallets of cases of the stuff that you're trying to get one box of. And that's just not, I hate to say the term, but it's not fair. It's definitely not fair, in my opinion. Wax prices are just crazy. Um, you know, you're going to, a fraction of a percent of people are ever going to make their money back from buying wax right now. And people just got to realize it. Hopefully it's just a short-term thing. But I kind of doubt it, unfortunately. Going along with number 2, number 3, there's definitely a slant with Fanatics, and it was with Panini as well, toward breakers. You know, breakers get all the breaks, so to speak. Allegedly, it was talked about at the by a few people last week that breakers have inside deals with Fanatics, which doesn't surprise me a bit. You know, hey, if you pay us X amount of dollars a month, we'll make sure the product gets to you. I mean, it's allegedly, remember. Just horrible stuff. And, you know, most of these breakers are on the up and up. But there's a few that give the rest of the hobby a bad name. Backyard breaks, among others. Number 4, grading companies merging. I've talked about that in the past. The Collector's Universe, bringing Beckett into the fold with PSA, and then CG or SGC. All of those are under one roof with PSA right now. Once again, competition. You know, one thing that could happen that would bring down PSA in a hurry is if TCG collectors graded with some other company. And I don't think it would, you know, my brother and I talked about this a couple days ago. I don't think it would take much for TCG collectors to go somewhere else. All it would take is the right influencers, you know, peddling one of the companies like CGC or something like that. It wouldn't take that much to nudge people over and start grading with other companies that are not under the Collector's Universe. The thing with PSA, 2/3 of their grading right now is TCG. So they have a huge amount of walk-away power if they wanted to use it. But they just haven't. Not yet anyways. We'll see what happens. But grading companies merging, once again, competition. Not doing very well. Number 5, this one's kind of personal for me. I do a lot of selling on eBay, and I buy a lot on eBay. eBay is getting harder and harder to find deals. And the reason is eBay keeps increasing their selling fees. I think now it's 15%. Plus, if you want to ship a card, let's say a $100 card, you're not going to do that in a plain white envelope. You know, you want to send it bubble mailer with tracking or however you want to do it. You have to, you owe it to the people that you sell to do a good job. Like I showed you with those Cooper flags. Guy did a great job of packing those up. The United States Postal Service shipping rates have gone up. When I first started doing this, when I shipped things bubble mailer and tracking, it was $5 or below. Now it's $8 or above. And it just makes things more and more expensive. I think card shows, for me personally, are much better if you want to get low-cost deals than eBay. And that has not always been the case. That has not always been the case. So eBay, I don't do stuff on Whatnot, and I don't do stuff on other sites like that. So I can't speak on that, but eBay I can speak on. Somebody that's been using it, you know, since the beginning, basically. So that was number 5, eBay stuff. Number 6, if you want to be a sports fan, I'm not talking, this is not a hobby thing, but, you know, I like watching sports. This is another example of this corporate society just bleeding us dry. You know, if I want to watch all the NFL games, you know, you have to get YouTube TV for the NFL ticket. Then you've got to get Netflix, and you've got to get Paramount streaming services, and, you know, Peacock Network. And it's just getting more and more expensive as the NFL season gets pieced up by all these streamers and separate companies. Same thing with the NBA to a lesser extent. I do have the NBA League Pass. I get probably 95% of the games on NBA League Pass, but Amazon Prime has some of the NBA games. You know, they had a lot of the early round games. So that's another fee that you've got to pay if you want all the games. And it's, you know, taking dollars out of your pocket and spreading it out to more and more groups where there's less in your pocket in the long run. Wrestling fans, like this past weekend was WrestleMania weekend. And in the past, long time ago, you bought all the pay-per-views. And then Peacock came along, and Peacock put all the pay-per-views on one network. And usually you could get Peacock for like $3 a month or something like that. If you go to like Cyber Monday, in November, December, you could get Peacock for $3 a month, or $3 to $5 a month. And so if you got WrestleMania, that paid for the whole thing basically. And now, unfortunately, the WWE has recently went with ESPN Plus, where you got to pay like $30 a month to get that, which there's very few options other than the wrestling events. And I mean, you're paying ridiculous prices. Once again, bleeding us dry in those situations. Peacock, in my opinion, was not a great streaming service other than WWE. Like, there just wasn't a lot of stuff that was worth getting the app for, but the wrestling was awesome. You got all the pay-per-views. Now they're called PLEs. And they also had the WWE Vault, which you could watch old school stuff from all the different feds. It was awesome. But they took that away and replaced it with, hey, now you got to pay $30-some a month. And just bad. Just really bad. Okay, number 7. The last two kind of go together. Social media has really caused, I think, and not just with cards, they've caused a big problem with FOMO, fear of missing out. And, when I look at Instagram or Twitter, you're bombarded, if you're a card fan, if you're a hobby guy, you're bombarded with, hey, look at this hit. This is a 101 Wemby sold at auction for $250,000, or they show a break where a guy pulls a Jackson Dart auto numbered to 10 out of prison, and they're just creating like a hit culture where everything's got to be hits. They never show you, hey, this is what this year's Topps Chrome basketball looks like. Here's a really nice, couple examples of like Jokic or Wemby, what they look like. They got to show you the 101. Last night I saw like a Larry Bird 101 gold autograph that they put out there. And it's just like everything is just big hit driven. And for a lot of people, I think that drives them to buy the crazy expensive wax. Fear of missing out. And a lot of Jackson Dart stuff. Like, this guy is not Tom Brady. This guy, he had a decent year last year as a rookie. The way he plays, he's going to last maybe 3 years. I mean, he's just learn how to slide, quarterbacks. Learn how to slide. That's all I'm going to say. But now you take this fear of missing out where you're seeing all these huge hits being gotten, and meanwhile, you're having a hard time buying one box on Fanatics.com. And it's been revealed that Fanatics is rolling out a credit card where you can, buy product with a credit card that they issue, which that's going to be a disaster. Let me make that prediction. All right. That is going to be a disaster. 29.99% interest on the credit card. If you want to 10x the hobby, like amount of cards being bought, what better way to do it than issue a credit card that is essentially a short-term loan where people don't even have to have the money to buy the cards. Now you can just put it on a credit card. And I realize that people are already doing this. But this is, where you're tying a company credit card directly to the product. It's going to have disaster written all over it. The stuff they see on social media now, hey, I don't have the money to buy it right now, but if with my Fanatics credit card, I can buy it now. And I don't have to miss out on all these big hits. And then you open up a $1,800 hobby box of Topps Chrome football and you don't get any hits, or you get one hit that is like maybe let's say a $200 card that doesn't even come close to paying for the box. Things are really, really crazy right now when it comes to the hobby. when it comes to wax. And, you could say, well, you can pay off that credit card every month. And that is a responsible thing to do. However, about 50% of people in the United States carry credit card balances. I think it was 48%. And so a lot of people don't. And so you're paying interest on what is going to be wax that you couldn't afford, but you're putting on a credit card. And I realize there's a lot of people already doing that, but now Fanatics is getting in on that. So once again, squeezing as much blood from a turnip as possible. My prediction is that Fanatics will use this credit card that they're issuing to for drops. Like, hey, you want the I don't know, whatever high-priced tops wax they're going to put out next week. You want in on that drop, you've got to use the Fanatics credit card. That will happen. I am predicting that. It's a pay for play type deal. You want to get in on the best of the best drops, you got to have a Fanatics credit card. That will happen, guaranteed. And people always say, well, these are monopolies. The grading companies, they're definitely monopolies. Fanatics having the license, that's a monopoly. But if you want to look at a little bit of politics for a minute, and I don't want to be very political on this channel, but our current politics is everything is pay for play. They're not going to do anything to stop this. Actually, they're doing a lot to accelerate this. And like I said, there's all kinds of examples in our society of companies that are squeezing more and more dollars out of your pocket, and you're getting less and less. I remember during COVID and the years after, there's a lot of talk about shrinkflation, where, let's say like a brand of cereal, you're paying more for the box of cereal, but the box of cereal got smaller. That kind of stuff is happening all the time. And there has been really there will be no pushback on things in the next couple of years. That's the way it is. Now, personally, I'm perfectly fine with my collecting lane, if you will. You've seen, if you've watched my channel, you've watched all the different shows that I go to and what I buy, and I'm perfectly fine doing that day to day. Would I like to buy wax every once in a while? Yeah. Do I buy wax? Very, very seldom. And, I just kind of went over the reasons why. There's just a lot of problems in the hobby. And, people are just like, oh yeah, this is great, where they don't do anything about it. Or like the powers that be that have the power to do it aren't going to do it. And the stuff I see around me, when it comes to wax prices and breakers having all this power, most of them are very good, but there's some that are very scummy, and some of the scummier ones are right at the top of what Fanatics is doing here. It's not a long-term healthy for the hobby to have a lot of these things happening. And whether it comes to wax or credit cards for cards, buying cards, or prejudice towards breakers, or grading companies coming together, or exclusive licensing, eBay fees going up. As people that are in the hobby, we're getting squeezed. And if you're looking for a life raft, it's not coming. At least right now. Hopefully things will change. But we'll see. So until next time, Ketos, thank you. Like, subscribe. I appreciate all the people that tuned into the Legends show last week. Legends really does a good job setting up shows. This weekend, Lansing is the site for card shows. Plus, we got Shipshawana coming up in about a month or so. So until next time, Ketos, thank you. Like, subscribe, like I said. And we'll see you down the trail.